Today we're going to be taking you guys through an exact protocol for how to eat animal-based throughout the day and how to exercise with this guy. So, this is how I would start the day with an animal-based diet. An animal-based diet is organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy. I'm going to show you guys typical lunches, snacks, and dinners throughout the day today. This is an example of a way that you might construct an animal-based breakfast. I've got some fresh squeezed orange juice there. Squeezed that myself this morning. Got an apple. I've got some raw yogurt with some fruit. There's mango and banana in there. I've got some raw cheese here, Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. And we cooked some eggs in tallow. So again, organs, meat, fruit, honey, and raw dairy. And these are some examples of how you might do a breakfast.
Looks delicious. Can I get in here? We're gonna pound some breakfast down and then we're gonna go work out. Mother Nature.
That's the good stuff, man.
Mother Nature did it right.
That's the good stuff. Fresh squeezed orange juice.
We'll pound this and see you in the gym. Step one, you're gonna do a 5-minute backward walk. Paul, take a step backward for me. Okay, so as soon as you do that, as you push into this position, you're loading through your foot. Your knee is over your toes. That's a position that's been found to put more pressure on the knee, but by walking backward, you're able to get stronger in that position. For elderly, this is associated with less chance of falling down the stairs. Look, he's in the position of falling down the stairs. You could start this as easily as underwater, meaning, on the side of a pool. I've used that to help people who can't walk anymore, and they walk backward enough, and now they can walk. For elite athletes, you could add weight. For Paul, I'd have him do it out in the sand. Walk backward in the sand as part of your morning routine. Your intention is pushing through the toes. I have kind of jacked up feet from wearing basketball shoes my whole life. So I found the sweet spot for me. I made a basketball sneaker that has a wide toe box, and then I put in a big toe spacer. Paul has good feet, so he's gonna feel this as he naturally pushes through those toes. So this is a great position, 5 minutes. It's kind of like Mother Nature's exercise to reverse knee pain. Now from there, you're gonna find a wall. So Paul, you're gonna come back here, butt against the wall. The back is actually off the wall. It makes it harder when your back is off the wall. The farther you stand, the tougher it is. The closer you stand, the easier it is. Now he's gonna flex the toes up. You're gonna do 25 reps. Because go down, notice, even if you burnt out at 15 reps, well, you could pause, take a few seconds, and keep going. Now we're working good all the way down each rep, hold it. Now we're working a muscle that starts here under the knee. It actually wraps around to the inside of the foot. So this is like your body's first line of defense against foot, ankle, shin, knee pain. You could imagine if this muscle was strong enough, your foot would actually never even be loaded. Now, that's not the case in life when you go to play sports or run. The force is too much for this muscle alone, but it is your first line of defense. And if you've been training for the rest of your body, but then leaving this muscle weak, which is the case for almost everyone in the gym, we're deviating from Mother Nature. That's the whole point of these 10 steps. These are all common deviations from natural. You pursue in sports going forward so much, backward can help you with that. It's gotten thousands of people off painkillers for the knee. This takes it a step further. Starting to feel something?
Yeah, for sure. It burns.
Amazing.
Feels good.
Now you're gonna flip it around and you're gonna get your legs straight. We really can't be too strong from the ground up. So your legs are gonna be straight until you feel a nice little stretch through the ankles, actually. The body's gonna be straight on this one. Yeah, there you go. Because of modern footwear that lifts up the heels, we almost all have too tight of calves, too tight through the ankles. You're gonna rise up on your toes. And if we get a comparison as Paul keeps going, so you're gonna take your time, Paul, and you're just gonna go up and down. You don't have to overthink this one. You're also gonna do 25 reps. Over time, even for an elite athlete, 25 reps controlled on one leg is pretty amazing. Go ahead and one leg there. Nice. So in the body, if you think about these first 3 steps we've done, 5 minutes of backward walking, 25 tibialis raises. 25, I call this an FHL calf raise because flexor, hallucis, longus. Flexor, it's a muscle that flexes. Hallucis means of the big toe, and longus because it's one of the longest muscles in the human body. It goes all the way up about 2/3 up your calf muscle. Really, there's 29 different muscles associated with the foot and the ankle. You don't need to know all the names. You could maybe come up with a better name for this. But 25 reps here in this FHL calf raise, combined with the previous 2 steps, we now have a really nice beginning foundation for the body. It doesn't matter what problem you're trying to handle up. You can't be too strong through the foot and the ankle. Awesome work, Paul. Now you've mobilized up that ankle. We're gonna find a stairwell and get into my favorite exercise, the ATG Split Squat. ATG is kind of a little acronym for like ass to grass. And we apply that in a split squat. So Paul knows what he's doing, so he's gonna go ahead and get in there. He'll start on the second step, and he's gonna hold this position for 20 seconds. Good. I'm gonna straighten out this back foot. Nice, I'm gonna move this mat out of the way. Good, now you're even gonna let your heel lift if it has to. You're gonna try to get the hamstring to cover the calf with the posture up, so you feel stretched through those hip flexors. As Paul's holding that, I'm gonna show you why we do this. Sitting, the knees don't get to fully bend. The hips stiffen up. So if we see Paul working on this position, if he then progresses to here, that'll be even more of a stretch. If he progresses to flat ground, you're getting the opposite of sitting. You're getting to strengthen the front leg while lengthening. I'm not just passively stretching, I'm under load in that position. So holding this for 30 seconds is super underrated for mobility. I think mobility is the number one thing we lose. Oh, that's really nice form, Paul. So a 30-second hold at a level that you actually feel comfortable, and then building up that strength. Now he's gonna switch sides. This is the most powerful thing I've seen for the long term of the knees and the hips, because it's probably the most overdone modern position is just sitting. So here's sitting, no full range to the knees, no circulation through here, hips stiffening up, boom, getting the combination of both of those, active through these hip flexors, strong through the front knee. So this is our fourth step, 30 seconds per side. Beautiful form, Paul.
This one feels so good to undo all the sitting. I'm always sitting, podcasting, working and stuff, and this is one of my favorite ones, just to really try and open this up. And it's funny because yesterday we were talking and he told me I had 40-year-old hips.
He's actually one of the most impressive 40-plus-year-old athletes I've seen. His ankles and knees are incredible, the surfing and things of that nature. But getting those hips to open up from all the sitting, that one's a game changer.
My hips are old.
This is the other side of the equation. So every kid that I've seen can hold these squat positions like this. Now, of course, kids are different than adults, but when we stop being in these positions, his ankle and knee, that's in a good position. You'll notice his back is a bit rounded. I can hold this with a straighter back. That's these inner thigh muscles. So he's actually gonna stretch his inner thigh muscles now with some load. If you're just starting this out, you would simply reach with your hands. So we have undoing the effect of excess sitting. We also have bulletproofing sitting itself and making up for years or decades of not being in this position. So do a few reps just touching the floor first, getting into motion. Yep, the hands like that. You're trying to keep the posture up on this one and reaching forward, and you'll feel a stretch through the inner thigh. And then the load, if you hold your posture, now puts an even greater stretch through those inner thighs. Nice. That's it. So his intention is to keep the chest up as he stretches into the inner thighs. That's really good. So this is a really primal movement. The tighter we are here, then everything we do, our back is going to be under more pressure than it should be. So the full range of motion, split squat, plus this ATG style of seated good morning is the most powerful combination I've seen to restoring childlike mobility. This is the kind of stuff that rebuilt my joints, that I can now go from this position and spring up and dunk a basketball when I couldn't even hold this position or dunk a basketball even with the running start prior. Good. Now Paul's going to come out of there, 15 reps, and then he's going to get into this position across from me. Kids sit in these kind of positions all the time. As we stop that, we can get really stiff through the outer hip. That muscle is called the piriformis. If you split the knee, you can now get a push-up where you're feeling a stretch through that outer hip, but you can now put your intention that that outer hip muscle is strong to push up. So over time, you can then reduce one hand. Very simple exercise. Piriformis. Pear meaning pear-shaped. It's the shape of a pear and form. So pear-formed. The piriformis muscle is chronically tight. It's actually right in the way of the sciatic nerve. So a lot of people who have had like chronic back issues where it's flaring up and they're in bed and they've reached out to me, and this one got them like back on their feet, alleviate the pain super fast. But when I tell you this is chronically tight, I mean it. The things I'm showing you in this video are very personal. Some you may be good at, some you may not be good at. My wife kept sitting in these kind of positions. I stopped sitting in these kind of positions and got so tight that my knee would actually pop out of place and I'd have to pop it back in. And when you go to a doctor and tell them that, normally they tell you, well, maybe your meniscus is torn or something, Thousands of people have had surgeries not even realizing that it's actually a dislocation out here because you're just too tight. So you have the surgery, the problem keeps happening. It's a very scarce thing, but every time I make a video on this, people reach out going, oh my God, that's what happens to my knee. You have to pop it back in. It happens because we stop being in these positions. It gets so tight that you get into one of those positions, boom, goes out of place. So this one's super simple. One of my favorite exercises, 15 reps each side. You can get right into it. And now, as Paul's finishing up on this leg, I'm going to show you, okay, we have all these hip positions we showed. Because of the modern footwear, we get really tight through the back of the knee as well. So a standard in my program is feet flat on the floor, quads able to flex with palm straight. So this is something I want to just maintain the rest of my life, that ability through here. The farther you stand out, the easier it is. And by straightening one leg at a time, you're able to get a little more loading. For the back, you now have support. So you're actually getting some tension in this position, but the support of the hands makes it more gentle. So you'd go from a bent position to a straight position. Bent, straight. So you do 15 reps on each leg. That's it. Bend and then straighten the other one. Good. And over time, you back your way up until you can straighten one side at a time. So this is absolutely an ability that I think is important. But being in this position, having the back in this position, we then want to immediately flow our last few steps in the opposite of that. So when Paul finishes there, he's going to get into the couch stretch. So you go ahead and get into the couch stretch. If you're watching this from home, if you feel fragile, if your joints are in pain, I suggest you use your actual couch. Leave the couch cushion where the foot is. The other couch cushion, put it under the knee. Then you can get into this super gently. If you went to school, that means you started sitting at way too soon of an age. I mean, almost all of us are going to be too tight through here. And he's going to progress this to where he can actually contract the glute, because contracting the glute opens this up even more. And to where he can actually flex strength into this. Here's why. That full range of motion split squat, we're opening up the hip flexor muscles, but the hip flexors are a series of 5 muscles, and they attach all the way down to what's called the rectus femoris in the thigh. So if we leave the rectus femoris tight, we're not quite undoing the effects of sitting. So this is a sweet finishing touch on that hip flexor area. Really good, Paul. We then do 15 reps in a pullover. So here I'm actually strengthening in this position to open up the mid spine. And this is where I really started falling in love with the idea of ability training, where you take a malfunction, then you identify, wait a second, if you have enough ability, the malfunction will wash away. And the studies show, okay, people who can round the back have less pain, but people who are chronically in that position have more pain. People who can go this way have less pain. So wait a second, okay, palms to floor, okay, being able to go back the other way. I honestly wouldn't know how to hurt my back if I tried. That's what you want to get to. More ability is always going to protect you. So this exercise here is an important step because, yes, the hips get tight, but that upper spine gets tight as well. Paul's going to do this with a light weight. Never push through any exercise if it doesn't feel good. Always try to find a regression that feels good. Paul's form is outstanding, but I'll also show you an alternative. While Paul's doing that, if you simply find a wall, put your hands together like that, gradually back up until you feel a good stretch, and then you want to actually push and do 15 reps getting strong in that position. This is my personal favorite upper body exercise because my sport is basketball, so as long as I have great shoulder mobility, I feel incredible on the court. And this is a finishing touch for that posture. You're stretching through the mid-spine, you're strengthening through all kinds of different areas in your back and upper pecs, and even get a nice stretch through here. So I think this is, in my opinion, the most commonly needed upper body exercise for the modern human. And then Paul's going to take a seat, and we're going to do our 10th exercise here. We've made it. Paul has a dumbbell. I'm going to quote a leader in movement, Ido Portal. Normally, people think of, strengthening the external rotators. These are muscles that attach into your shoulder that help keep it in place. Okay, I'll do some band exercise or something. And look, maybe that works for some people. But if you have a career throwing as hard as you can, or I know so many guys who have pursued the bench press really hard. They didn't pursue the opposite side of the bench press really hard. So Ido Portal says, get brutally strong in your external rotators. I lower down till the dumbbell touches my thigh, and then I'm trying to raise up. This is a 20-pound dumbbell. I think like an adult male should have no problem doing at least 10% of their body weight, 10 reps. Like that's just a baseline to undo being human, which means pursuing push-ups, throwing bench presses harder. Most people are not brutally strong in reverse of that motion.
And I've gotten so overdeveloped, I think, in my anterior shoulder from surfing that I get to use the cute pink weights for now until I get to the stronger weights. But the that 20 feels quite heavy to me.
Yep. So we've done 10 steps here. This is my ATG, that's my business. 0 program. At most, to do these steps, if you look at all of them, at most you would need to get a dumbbell, which you can go get from just about anywhere. This is a combination of my knee and back programs. That's just a full body routine. So if you need any help with this stuff, I try to make it as cheap as possible to be able to send in your videos, ask questions. But there you go. That's the protocol. We have all the sets and reps on the screen. Keep me posted how that goes. And you ready for lunch?
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, brother. And doing this stuff with you the last couple of days has really helped me with feeling more mobile for surfing and for everything I do. I don't like to lift weights. I don't really like to do pull-ups. I do sometimes, but push-ups, maybe. Bench press, not my thing. But I love these exercises because they're working the small muscles that we were talking about, the stabilizer muscles. They're undoing all the sitting I do for podcasting. So it feels like these are things that are more in line with what I want to get out of my life. I want to surf, I want to skate, I want to do those things. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to hear that, because that's my purpose in life, is helping you enjoy the surfing, helping the powerlifter hit, even higher numbers with less pain. Whatever the goal is, we have solutions that can help them achieve that with less pain. I'm not the end all be all of fitness. I'm actually trying to support your fitness.
I love it, man. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna catch a quick dip.
This is what I might eat for a lunch on an animal-based diet. So far today, I've surfed. Ben and I went in the ocean. We did some backward walking on the beach. You guys got to see our breakfast, the kind of stuff we would eat on an animal-based diet for breakfast. You got to see the workout. Ben took us through an exact protocol, and I love those exercises, the small muscles. So let's move on to one of the main meals of the day, a lunch. Remember, an animal-based diet, in my belief, is the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, animal meat and organs, along with things like eggs, fish, chicken, and pork, these animal foods, and then things like fruit, the least toxic plant foods, the part of plants that plants want you to eat, and then things like raw dairy. So what do we have for lunch? We've got grass-fed beef burgers. I might eat maybe 1.5 pounds of meat per day. The goal in terms of protein on an animal-based diet is 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. Ben, how much do you weigh?
$1.85.
Okay, so for Ben, the goal would be 185 grams of protein per day that he could get from a mixture of things like eggs, from meat, burgers, or steaks. From milk is gonna have protein too. I'm about 170 pounds right now, so my goal is 170 grams of protein per day. Again, I'm gonna get that in a mixture of things like raw milk, cheese, and these burgers. So we've got grass-fed beef burgers.
Why grass-fed?
So grass-fed means the animal is fed grass its whole life. A lot of animals are fed grass for the beginning of their life and then finished on grains. But when you finish an animal on grains, you do a couple of things. You lose nutrients in the meat because the grains are not as nutritious for the animal as the grass is, and you introduce the potential for other things in the meat that you don't want. Things like mold toxins and things like pesticides that are sprayed on those grains.
So it's got more actual nutrients.
More nutrients.
I didn't really know, it just sounds more natural.
More nutrients and less of the things you don't want, like glyphosate, mold toxins, even microplastics, less microplastics in meat that's fed grass throughout its life. But listen, guys, if you're on a budget, there are lots of ways to eat animal based on a budget. Don't let eating an expensive steak or grass-fed meat get in the way of eating higher quality foods. Do what's right for you. If you can afford grass-fed beef, I definitely think it's the way to go. These are grass-fed beef burgers. And on them, I've got some raw butter. We know that 60% of the beneficial immunologic components of dairy are in the fat. So in butter, which I believe is a health food, just like meat is a health food, organs are a health food, these things concentrate the good immunologic, the good bioactive components in the animal fat. So butter is a health food, good for you, good for your children, good for your parents. And to make the burgers even more decadent, you can add some preferably local, raw, glyphosate-free honey, pesticide-free honey on a burger. Believe me, guys, if you've never had a burger,
I gotta try this.
he's not even waiting. If you've never had a burger with raw butter and a good salt with honey, that is a game changer. Really good, right? So many good nutrients in meat also. There's been a lot of talk recently about meat not being good for longevity. There are many unique nutrients in this burger, in a steak, in things like liver and heart that are only found in animal foods. Things like taurine, carnosine, anserine, vitamin B12, vitamin K2. Yes, you can get that from natto, but that's from the bacteria, not from the actual soybeans. Things like creatine, 4-hydroxyproline. All of these nutrients lead to vital, healthy humans with healthy hormones who are going to be resilient, and taurine specifically has been studied in many animal models across species, including primates, to be beneficial for longevity, and it's only in meat. You're not going to get any of that longevity substance in plants. So meat is a longevity food. Butter is good for your immune system. Honey is delicious and it's a healthy carbohydrate. Sometimes when I talk about honey, people say, isn't that going to raise your blood sugar? And I say, it might raise my blood sugar in the short term, but I'm insulin sensitive. And even if you're not insulin sensitive, honey has been studied in diabetics at doses of 125 to 150 grams a day and shown to improve glucose tolerance. Honey and fruit do not cause insulin resistance. These are healthy foods for humans. They allow your body to conserve the electrolytes it needs. So often on ketogenic diets, people end up having to supplement with massive amounts of salt because if you don't have an insulin spike, which is a healthy thing when you're eating good carbohydrates like fruit and honey, you will lose electrolytes, you'll lose sodium, you'll lose magnesium, you'll lose calcium. So grass-fed beef burgers with honey and butter, good honey there. Got a papaya here. This is tropical fruit. Use what's local to you. Got some pineapple here. Got some coconuts. Show you guys how to be local in Costa Rica. Good. Right? Crack it open. Open the coconut like this. Wow. Share that with my buddy there. There you go, Ben. That is the elixir of the gods. Or
it's really not fair like what Mother Nature naturally produces.
You can get this huge coconut off the tree. This coconut essentially came from my yard. That's how we do it. So, how many carbohydrates should you eat a day? This will depend on how active you are. I think that the first source of carbohydrates for humans are things like fruit and honey. Think about how much activity you're going to do. Today, I surfed for a couple hours, I did a workout with Ben. I'm active today. I'm probably going to go skateboard later. Might even get a workout this afternoon or go surf again, which means I'm probably going to aim for 200 to 300 grams of carbohydrates. I'm 170 pounds. Probably something like that is good for Ben. But if you're doing mild walking or you don't have as much time to do that much activity, you can scale down the carbohydrates. But I do believe that in general, carbohydrates are very valuable for humans. If you guys want a calculator, there's a free calculator on my website, paulsaladinomd.co, which will give you a sense of the macros, the protein, the fat, and the carbohydrates for constructing an animal-based diet. But this is what we've got for lunch. We got meat, we got raw dairy from the butter, we got honey and fruit, we got coconut water, we got good salt that's going to help us with the electrolytes. The healthy insulin signal from the fruit and the honey is going to help us conserve those nutrients. This meat and the taurine in it is going to help us live long, vital, muscular lives and look good on the beach when we're walking backwards with our shirts off. And it's time for us to eat now. We'll see you guys later this afternoon. The rest of this day, I'm going to have a snack and dinner, and we'll show you guys all that in exact amounts.
And look, I'm hesitant to talk about diet because it gets so much flack when you mention it. But I've been eating fruit and meat as my primary foods for 3 years now. I've never had a healthier stretch of my life. My 2-year-old son was going through a long period of colds, like it just wouldn't go away. We're talking months of colds. I got him on meat and fruit as his primary stuff. It went right away. He's been totally healthy for like 6 months. You can see his whole body tone has changed. He's stronger, he's happier, he's more athletic. What makes sense to me is if I was out in the wild, what foods would I be pursuing? So I used to think in terms of avoiding calories and avoiding foods versus now pursuing the most nutrient-dense foods that do have calories. My mom is 69 years old and she can sprint like a kid. She's had meat and fruit as her primary food. So everyone in our family does meat and fruit as the primary foods. And then people from there, there's varying degrees. But meat and fruit is the primary. And the way I see it is Paul is leading the way on educating on meat and fruit. But even if someone out there hasn't tried it or thinks differently, I would encourage you to think about what you learn as, is this person trying to help people with natural means of doing so versus just medication, versus just marketing and billions upon billions of dollars in ads? When I get back to America from Costa Rica, it's like, oh my gosh, like chip commercials and soda commercials, and it's like, it's in us. Like, it is coming after us intentionally. You want to talk about like the Matrix and stuff like that? This is real. Brain. Like, there are people that their entire livelihood, they're making billions of dollars on trying to crush us. So if you're out there and you have anything to do with exercise or nutrition, I am your friend, even if you don't feel that way when you hear me talk about something. So that's why I'm hesitant to talk about it. But at a certain point, I have to go, you know what? I got to put a line in the sand and show you the line in the sand is not what you think about nutrition. It's whether you're even trying to use nutrition and exercise. So hopefully, with my little rant there, someone else out there realizes kind of the same thing, that we're actually, probably almost all of us watching this video are on the same team, and there's really only a smaller percent that's profiting on crushing all of us. So that's my only enemy.
And we're going to do a whole podcast. We'll link to the Paul Saladino, Ben Patrick podcast in the views, in the description of this video. I appreciate you sharing your experience with this, Ben. It means a lot. I mean, you're somebody that's in the health space. You've seen clients on this. You've seen
tried every type of diet.
You've tried every type of diet, and obviously, I get to feed you burgers with raw butter, but this is not a paid promotion. This is just Ben sharing his ideas. So I so appreciate Ben sharing what he's been through. And I think about it the exact same way, guys. There's a million studies out there. Every study that I find to show you guys that meat and organs are beneficial, somebody's going to be able to find an epidemiology or an observational study to conflict it. So if you want to get into the science, listen to my podcast and you think for yourself. But if you really just want to think high level, imagine yourself in a tribe with Ben and I in the wilderness, and we're going to go hunting and we're going to feed our tribe. What are the foods that we're going to eat? It's really intuitive. It's not complicated. You're going to hunt animals. You're going to eat them from nose to tail. You're going to eat the organs. When you find fresh fruit, you're going to eat it because it's colorful and sweet. If you find a beehive, you're going to gently remove the bees from the hive, maybe with smoke. We're going to make a bow drill. Neither Ben nor I knows how to do that, but we'll figure it out. And then you're going to eat the honey, and you're going to eat berries. And yes, in indigenous cultures like the Hadza, they do eat roots sometimes. That's their least favorite food. These are the foods that are most preferred by humans on the planet. It's very hard to debate that from an anthropologic perspective, and I think that where we've come from as humans really gives us a lot of wisdom into how we can be the healthiest moving forward. So Ben's already eaten his burger. It's time for me to get caught up and eat some food. See you guys at snack and dinner.
I suggest doing that exercise program 3 days a week. That's what I like as a minimum. It gives me the other days to think about activity. What do you want to do? We see here Paul in his 40s looking like a 16-year-old skater. He loves surf and skate sports. So this is activity to take into account. I don't want him exercising so much that he's exhausted to do the activities he loves to do. And with the ATG style of training, it's all about enhancing these activities, making you more youthful, less pain, more ability. Incredible.
When I can't surf, or after I surf, it's fun to get on the ramp and skate, and mobility is key for this. It's just so important that the small muscles are trained, that my posture is good, that I'm resilient, and that I'm flexible. And so combining the diet with these key movements help me stay strong when I'm paddling in the ocean. Posterior muscles, calves, anterior tibialis, hips. It's all part of the equation, just so I get to do the things that are most fun. Now, it's time to go get a snack. One of my favorite snacks is raw milk. This is raw goat milk. I'm sharing this with Ben. Put a little honey in there. Again, I'm trying to get enough carbohydrates for my active lifestyle. I'll give this one to Ben. Let him stir that magic in there. I'll stir mine in here. You guys can see all that good honey at the bottom. We're gonna stir that in there. Why do I like raw milk? There's plenty of studies in children who drink raw milk, growing up on or off farms, that drinking raw dairy improves all sorts of atopic conditions. Things like eczema, asthma, allergies, hay fever, all sorts of things. There are so many beneficial compounds, nutrients, cofactors, enzymes, and even bacteria in raw dairy. Some people think raw dairy isn't safe, but if you're getting it from a good producer, raw dairy can definitely be a safe and incredibly healthy food for humans. And it's very different than a pasteurized dairy. When you heat milk, you are changing the conformation of proteins in the milk. We know that whey protein is beneficial, especially when it's not denatured, when it's not heated, casein, all these things. So if you've not tried raw milk, give it a try. You can try raw milk, raw kefir. Some people say kefir. That's not right. It's kefir. Raw butter, raw cheese, raw yogurt. But one of the most delicious things to have in your diet. There's also benefits to having calcium in your diet. Amazing recovery food. Ben already drank his. We can't even cheers anymore.
One thing is for sure, it's absolutely delicious. I mean, if someone wants to pack a ton of energy in their diet, I haven't tried it until this trip, the raw milk with honey. But I could definitely imagine a kid, rather than being fueled by sports drinks pumped full of sugar and artificial colors and these snacks that are just pumped full of all kinds of crap. Like, this is just the norm for society. This doesn't cost more, actually. You'd probably save money and get in way more nutrients for someone who needs some extra energy. I'm always thinking about my kids when it comes to diet and exercise. What we've covered in this video allows me to be the dad I've wanted to be. I feel like I can take care of my kids. I can be active. I can keep them healthy. And I'm definitely going to add this one to the routine because they'll just love this.
They'll love it. It's a treat. I mean, your kids want a treat. They want a milkshake. There you go. That's a healthy milkshake. I can't tell you how many people ask me for ice cream recipes. Most ice cream is garbage, carrageenan, other things. But if you make ice cream from raw cream with honey, maybe some ground up fruit in there, maybe an egg yolk, it's healthy for humans. Ice cream can be healthy. Wow. Milkshakes can be healthy. Wow. Milk plus honey is an amazing food for humans. And as I said earlier, I don't worry about the honey in here, guys. Blood sugar spikes are not damaging for you. Honey is beneficial for humans. Don't fear this. This doesn't cause insulin resistance. This doesn't cause metabolic dysfunction. It does help you recover from exercise. There's also clear evidence that athletes who use carbohydrates intra-workout or after the workout have all sorts of better recovery parameters, better hormones, all this stuff benefits. So raw milk and honey, cheers you guys. If you wanted another snack, you could just use fruit or cheese. We're gonna do a little more work today, maybe do a podcast, and then we're gonna eat some dinner, which we'll show you guys in a little bit. And at dinner, we're gonna get into the organs, the best part of the day. Last meal of the day, it's dinner time. So today we went to the beach in the morning. I surfed, Ben went swimming in the ocean, did a little backwards walking. You saw our breakfast, the kind of stuff we would eat on an animal-based diet. Remember that an animal-based diet is organs, meat, fruit, honey, raw dairy, the most nutrient-rich, least toxic foods for humans. We had lunch after a workout that Ben took me through, that exact protocol to keep all those little muscles really firing and working well for longevity of my joints and musculature. You saw our snack in the afternoon. I got a little skating in. We did a podcast today, and now it's dinner time. So what do we have for our animal-based dinner? We got some grass-fed skirt steak here. I've got some, he's gonna eat it in the middle of the video. I got some bone broth, something I talked about a little earlier today, this idea that collagen in bone broth for hydroxyproline specifically, studied to do all sorts of beneficial things for ligamentous health, skin health in humans. I've got probably something super important that we're having for the first time today, raw liver. So many unique nutrients in liver that are not found in meat. Look, meat is incredibly nutritious for humans, but liver is a great source of things like bioavailable vitamin A, biotin, riboflavin, copper, so many nutrients that you don't really find in meat. So meat and organs go together like, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly? Mixing metaphors here. So Ben, time has come.
We're gonna try it.
Let's do it, bro. So this one's for you.
All right.
Raw liver for Ben.
Not as bad as I thought.
Okay, most people don't think it's as bad as they thought. It's definitely irony.
Yeah.
It's definitely nutrient rich. You can almost taste the nutrients in the liver. And look, like there's a lot of ways to get liver in your diet.
Yeah, it almost tastes like taking vitamins in a way.
It's kind of tastes like vitamins.
Like nature's vitamins.
Yeah, that's what I think of it as. Nature's multivitamin. You got some raw cheese here. That's Parmigiano Reggiano. You guys saw the raw milk earlier today. And we've got fruit. We've got carbohydrate sources like mango, avocado, which is a fruit, so you can include that for variety. The goal is always to get the most variety in your diet while also keeping the nutrients high but the toxins low. The goal is human thriving. Got some more papaya here. We got some mango, and we've got beef organs. Yeah. So if you want to do fresh liver, that's great. And if you don't want to do fresh liver like this, you can always do something like freeze-dried organs, from hardened soil.
Yeah, this was my first time trying liver, but I've used and loved these. You can even open them up, blend them into smoothies. Like my kids love this smoothie. I got the idea from Paul's Smoothie at Air One, if you've ever been in LA. And my wife and I, when we were in LA, we live right by an Air One grocery store, so we tried it. The kids loved it, had like no idea that there was... You can't even
taste the organs.
Yeah, you can't even taste it. My whole thing you saw with the exercise is trying to restore the way things naturally should be. So the idea is that the body is designed to work well, so when it's not, where have we deviated? It's not like something's wrong with you. It's like, where do we figure out where we can make something more right and increase the ability of it? And then the symptoms, malfunctions, they start to wash away. So it's the same thing with diet. That's what originally made me realize meat, fruit, those are the things I would naturally seek out. But for me, I started to realize, okay, it's not natural if I'm only eating these typical American cuts of meat. And that is, I've followed the meat and fruit in sort of a typical American way. So for me, this is more realistic for my lifestyle. My wife is like, I don't think she'd even be willing to try. We'll have to get Knees Over Toes Girl out here the next time.
We'll
traveling with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, it was better for me to just come do this. I'm a super family guy, but the kids are in a groove. Knees Over Toes Girl, I'm not sure my wife would try the liver, but this solves it for us. So whichever way you do it, but maybe you could give people some tips if they do want to try it, if they're scared to try it. Like, what would you tell someone like me? Like, I'm scared to try that with my family.
So get the liver from a good source, from a butcher that you trust, from a farmer that you trust. Make sure it's a good cow. You can tell in the liver and the color if it's a healthy liver. And what you'll see is that it's actually easier to eat it raw, I think, for a lot of people. There's always risks of eating raw food of any type, whether it's beef tartare, raw liver, sushi, raw vegetables, whatever. There's always risks. But if you get it from a good source, I think the risks are low. And it's the easiest way to eat liver is repeatedly when I work with people, it's just doing a liver shooter. You shoot it. That's the aggressive way to do it. But you can just cut a small piece of raw liver, put it in your mouth, and then use some bone broth, some raw milk, or some water, or coconut water, and just shoot it. That's a great way to get it. I even got my 5-year-old niece to eat a little piece of raw liver that way. She just washed it down with something and she did it. So, but desiccated organs are a really easy option. I have my sister put those in the food for my niece and nephew. Like I said, like you said, they're in the smoothie at Erewhon. So easy way to get it. And this has heart, liver, kidney, spleen, and pancreas. Yeah.
Raw milk, fruit, honey.
Beef organs.
Beef organs in a smoothie.
Yeah, that's it.
Kids will love it. I mean, it'll taste delicious.
You won't taste the organs.
So much nutrition.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm working on now. It's simplified for myself. I've had such a good time with this diet. It's made it so simple for me. Now I've been having success getting it with my family. So I think learning about the raw milk, learning about the organs, and being able to implement this in for my family in a way that they're just happy and enjoying the food. Like, there's no weak links now with this approach. So I got so much out of this. Bulletproofed all my weak links, just like I try to do for people with exercise.
What's up?
And all based on the same concept that the body was designed to work great. So maybe find where you've deviated, bring that up, and whatever you think of as the malfunction, maybe it'll wash away naturally.
I think that if humans eat a diet without processed food, full of nutrient-rich foods, without toxins, and some of those toxins might even be in vegetables for some people. Not everybody has problems with vegetables, but some people do. The body will heal itself. I went to regular medical school. I'm an MD, and that's a very allopathic perspective. But there's a much more naturalistic, naturopathic perspective that if you remove the impediments, the body will heal itself. And I think that with food, that if we can create a diet or help people understand that a diet like this is healthy, the body will heal itself when you give it what it needs and you take out the stuff that it doesn't need and the toxins. So I'm so glad it's been helpful for you, brother. It's been a joy hanging out with you. Thank you for showing me the movement stuff. I love it, man. It's time for us to eat dinner.
I'm so lucky to be here, and please keep us posted in the comments as you try this stuff.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think.
Even though it's on his channel, I'm going to be checking in on the comments if you have any questions, and I'll keep checking in on this video because it's the only public diet video out there with me in it. So I'll always be checking those comments. Whenever you see this, I'll check in regularly. Keep us posted how it goes.
Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, share this with people that you think will benefit, because I know that you and your families, your friends might be curious about how to eat. Maybe you found Ben's stuff in the past. You're benefiting from his knees over toes strategy. Share this with people you think may benefit. Let us know in the comments how it's going with your dietary stuff. And I hope this is valuable. Again, like and subscribe. See you guys soon.
Let's eat.
Let's eat, brother.